Hmm. I'm debating, but I guess yeah. Okay. Anyway, welcome back. So yeah, we're redoing actually a little bit of the moon renting on Return of the Obra Dinn, which we just finished just the other night. We briefly talked about it, but then I figured it was definitely worth putting down just a few points, not that many really. Given also the brevity of the game, which by no means lowers its quality, quite a contrary. But yeah, so it shouldn't be a very long one, but at least trying to put some thoughts together in a more cohesive way. And yeah, so the first one I would start with is the awesomeness of the game itself. It's a really really nice puzzle game, and during this review, I'd like to avoid. I mean, I won't be really going into details of the game, of course, because one thing that is essential for puzzle games, of course, is going in with the fewest information as possible. So if this video is ever seen by someone who hasn't played the game, I highly encourage you to go and play it. If you're a puzzle game fan. And on the other, of course, I don't want to give away anything that could interfere with that experience. That said, I think that from the puzzle perspective, the overall game, yeah, it is great. The puzzles, it is extremely satisfying to piece things together. That's as far as I can. I'm willing to go. I just saying, to just kind of a detective. If you ever played Clue, it's very similar experience. Sort of, find who killed whom with which weapon and where, kind of thing. So, and again, piecing those things together for how the game plays out is great. It's great how also again this process of discovery, finding the pieces and putting them together, is quite varied. Despite the environment being not that big, it is very well represented, and again the number of ways you can get to the different solution is quite impressive. And most importantly, it's really 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 satisfying. Um, One thing tied to that is how nicely also not just the pacing of the game, but how the game sort of guides you, drives your attention. Again, I don't want to go too deep into any kind of details. And again, the environments and the way you move between them, or rather the way you're introduced to them, is great. It does an interesting job in sort of showing you something, but a lot of times not showing you, at least not right away, something else. Of course, I mean that's the whole point of the detective game is go around and look closely, listen, maybe take notes of your own, and yeah, and keep looking. That is which also brings to my last sub point as far as the gameplay goes, is I highly recommend trying to not brute force nor like really guess too wildly. Everything can be deduced. The game also gives you, there's like an in-game rating as to which ones are supposedly easier, and like which characters are easier to figure out versus the more complex one. I wouldn't say, I'm not sure I agree 100% with it, but it's just a way to say that again you can uh, some some are definitely more explicit, while others take a little bit longer. And so for those ones, I highly recommend keep looking, keep searching, because again, I made it. It took me a little bit longer, I guess, but it was making a guess, figuring out again the all the parts and putting them together consciously, as in like, yes, I found enough information, I believe this is the reason why this person is this person or it died this way, whatever. I think that is really really satisfying. It's the whole point of the game. Again, if you are a puzzle game enthusiast, I'm pretty sure you'll agree with that. And so that's for the gameplay, really, for the game itself, without trying to avoid showing or telling anything. The rest of the notes is more, I guess, sort of, the classic. I still wanted to try to point out a few things on some classic review points, so to speak. In terms of sort of a UI, it's, well, there's none really. All you get is your first person view, and even then, one example I really thought about since the very beginning, I thought was really really interesting, and which I wanted to bring up because it was like, this is a very interesting way, not just for this one, for any game out there, to explain things. Is like, when you get close to a door and you can open it, instead of just getting a prompt, you literally see the hand animation pulling forward as to grab the doorknob. And again, I think that's so much more immersive. And for a game like this, again, immersion is well, it's well done in this game. Definitely, the atmosphere, the music, all really really well done. And those small things, instead of having like these prompts popping up, like many other games would have, having this little end coming out, reaching out, it sort of shows you, it teaches you something at the very beginning of the game, because you use it also to climb the ladder to get on the boat, and it's just smoother and just overall prettier than just like a button prompt popping out. So yeah, so very unintrusive in terms of UI. I guess you could you have a diary where you'll be taking notes and tracking your progress and all that. Hard to call a UI, of course, because it's in the game. Literally, it's like it's your diary. You open it and whatnot. So yeah, very 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 clean. And again, it really helps staying immersed in the game. Even in terms of tutorial, there is none really. There's just like this very first intro section, which again introduces to the little bits of mechanic. There's not that many really, but most importantly, yeah, it kind of shows you sort of a full circle classic thing. After that, the game really sets you free, and that's where I only had like one of the few moments where I was a little bit not as much confused, but more like, I don't know if it could have been slightly different in terms of pacing. Shortly after finishing the game, I was talking about the one that we'll be playing shortly after this one. I forgot the name. The Golden Idol, Curse of the Golden Idol, where the game is divided into chapters, so you have this sort of sense of a more regular sense of progression and completion. Whereas in this one, it's you. I won't say, but you don't. I don't want to say nothing, but yeah, it's a little bit more confusing at the beginning, so it can get a little bit overwhelming. But it's, for at least for me, it was just like a feeling that just disappeared shortly after, when I realized like, okay, it was just a big setup, and then up to me to solve it all. Yeah, so again, no on-screen pop-ups, tutorials, or anything like that. The game just smoothly introduces you to all the mechanics that you need to know, and then again, it's entirely up to you. Graphics and sound, about those ones, I would say beautiful. I'm just literally reading what I wrote. It was like beautiful, but most importantly, ageless. So in terms of visual, well, like you can see, like the visual style is quite unique. I don't think it's necessarily something. I mean, I think one of these biggest strength is that I could totally see this style, being adapted at really like any generation of console or device, if that makes sense. And again, that's why the ageless. And I think that's awesome, because I think like a game like this one, I really hope it has a long line of players waiting to play down the road. I don't know if that makes sense what I just said, but the whole point is, I think this game can age really really well, also because of its visual style, as well as the music. The soundtrack is not super huge, just like the rest of the game, but it's really like quality over quantity, and can never stress enough how good that can be. There's a few tracks they play at the right time. Maybe again, another small note. Maybe there were a few moments where I felt, just a little bit of silent, like sort of awkward silence. I don't know if it was also because streaming it sometimes would be like, okay, there's the music playing, I'm chatting, whatever, and then every now and then there would be this awkward silence where I was trying really hard, very focused on, focusing on the game and trying to piece things together. And maybe it was a moment where there was no music in that area of the game or whatever, and so it just felt like a little bit silent. But when the music played, from the title screen to the different scenes in the game, really, 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 really good. So awesome. And that's it. Final note is like, yeah, the brevity of these thoughts, this Moonrant, is also tied to the brevity of the game. Again, since we don't want to go into any details to avoid the risk of spoiling anything for anyone who would like to play this game, we're just gonna end it here. Again, highly, highly, highly recommending it. Hope you have as much fun as I have, and most importantly, like we mentioned before, strongly recommend being patient, not brute force, and making the most of every single puzzle. Because again, like every puzzle game, like the true curse of every puzzle game is like, you sort of can only play them once. And for that, I strongly recommend, put it, if you're feeling stuck or struggling or whatever, maybe just consider putting the game down. I was naturally forced to play it in a few sessions a bit far apart, so I definitely had that time to let the frustration that could build eventually sometimes when you get stuck on puzzles, definitely had time to let it cool down and then come back energized and be like, okay, now I'm gonna find and figure it out. I highly recommend doing that. The game took me about 20 hours, but there's a lot of course, chatting, stream warm up, and all of that. So my understanding is it's probably like many people beating in half that time. Then of course there is how smart you are, or maybe also a little bit how lucky you are, or how much do you actually pay attention to what's going on the screen while you play, which is something we know I rarely do. Anyway, that's it for this Moonrant. I hope you appreciate it. As they often say, if you have any thoughts or comments on such reviews, I guess leave a comment. Otherwise, most importantly, I hope you enjoy the game if you get to play it. I hope you enjoyed it if you already played it. And I hope I'll see you on the next one. Bye.